Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Manna in the Morning for the 10th day of January 2025. I'm Rick Tallent, and we want to welcome you to the broadcast. Missed it yesterday morning. I was up very early, and I'll just confess the truth. I feel back asleep. I didn't hear my alarm go off. I didn't hear anything go off. I must have needed to rest. Anyway, this morning we're here in northwest Georgia. We are experiencing our first winter storm. And we got snow on the ground. It's snowing. It's so pretty outside, but it's also cold as can be. Angel Cat is inside, has been for a couple of days. He doesn't like the idea, but he doesn't have much choice because I'm not going to let him back out in that weather until it warms up a little bit. How are you doing where you are? How's the weather, both naturally and spiritually? That's what we're going to talk about a little bit this morning. Spiritual climate and spiritual weather surrounding us. Maybe a few little insights into it. Let's continue to remember Betty Kelly, my cousin Danny's wife. She undergoes basically the same surgery that I had on Tuesday. I will be also having a PET scan on Tuesday. But please remember Danny and his wife Betty. That's a very, very serious surgery. And continue to remember all the other prayer requests as we look around and see so many people that are hurting. Daniel Thompson and others. I've got some written down here. Let me just see if I can find. Well, I don't see the list right now, but just continue to remember all the prayers. But, it's for some people it's a very tough situation. Faith may not be where it needs to be. I will tell you, you know, the honest, the honest truth. The honest truth is that if you do not walk every day in expectation of the miraculous, you're cheating yourself on what God has for you. And for those around you, surround yourself with people of faith. Remember the story of well, I'm kidding, but that might be part of this morning's message. But just remember, you know, if you surround yourself with people of doubt, your faith is going to be called into question. But if you surround yourself with people of faith, the stronger their faith, the more it's going to influence your faith. Even my cats have faith in me. You know why? When I get up in the morning, they come to me all excited. And they'll follow me into the kitchen when I lead me into the kitchen and sit down next to the food bowl. You know what? They have faith in me that I'm going to feed them. They know I'm going to feed them. They don't have to go out and chase down a rat or a mouse and kill it to have something to eat. They know I'm going to put food down for them. And they have faith in me. Hey, I ran into the other room for just a moment and came back into my office and Ted was laying on the little rug right in front of the gas space heater I have in my office. When we bought the house, there was a fireplace here in my office that had a gas log, and someone had broken into the house, and amongst other things that they stole those gas logs and most of the fireplace. Well, I boarded it up with my fleet, extended the gas line out, and I put a little gas space heater on the house. And the cats know when that gas space heater turned on, they can lay down on the rug on the floor in front and stay 51. when it comes to the weather. But the Lord will show us if we'll watch, if we'll pay attention. I think many times that's what the biggest problem most Christians have is they're so heavenly minded that they're not looking at the signs around them. We're going to talk a little bit about that if you want to see. You know, the signs around them. And I want to thank Brother Chuck Graham. Brother Chuck Graham for all the help that he has Chuck operates a number of Christian television and radio stations on the internet. And we are on WGHT TV every day live. And it goes from there, it goes around the world all thankful for that. If you want to see what he's doing, look it up. A lot of good preaching, a lot of good teaching, a lot of good music on there. WGHT TV. Look that up, you'll find it. He has a number of channels up. Some of them are radio channels that are music, some are television. But he's done a great job for this ministry. He works with us at the Great Fellowship Conference. Okay? And continue to remember Chuck and his wife Donna, and that the Lord will continue to bless them and open doors for them. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for your goodness and love and mercy. Thank you for the peace that passes all understanding. Thank you for the things, God, that you included in our salvation. Everything. Father, we just thank you that you know every circumstance, every situation of our life. And you know the situations that others are in, like Daniel and David, and Daniel, and so many others. Father, we pray for all of those this morning on that prayer list. Lord, that prayer list has been growing by day. We ask the Lord just to touch, heal, deliver. In Jesus' Father, minister, minister faith, minister healing. Lord, we give you the praise and the glory and honor in Jesus' name. Well, they're showing the news of the weather on here. So 31 degrees in Lafayette, Georgia. And it is snowing to be fair. I know that I was telling you just before we got on, came on the air. It is snowing. These are now it's got big old snowflakes coming down. They're saying it's going to snow like that for possibly the next 6 to 12 hours. And so we're going to have some accumulation. It's not going to be what they said it was going to be, but we're going to have some accumulation. And that kind of falls into what I want to talk about this morning. For the last week, the weather prognosticators, meteorologists, they're warning about major storms, major triple, and just a couple of nights ago on Channel 12 here locally, the meteorologists were saying we can expect between 8 and 12 inches of snow. Well, folks, that may not sound like much to people up in New York. But folks in Northwest Georgia, that's a snow apocalypse. So we're not equipped to handle that on our road. We're not equipped to handle that in our house. And this is the time. When it gets down to freezing, you know, it's cold. Just like you folks down south in Texas, and if it gets, if there's any precipitation hits the roads in Atlanta, the place is shut down for days. Well, the time is not showing the interstate right now. Actually, I one fifty three getting out to the airport, and it's just like very, very little. But starting out, you know, this massive blizzard, and then last night they were drawing, they were doing it back. They were But they started out warning the people that Noah popped and carrying it. And it was almost as if they were fighting it up to get more views. I've seen this happen also when people preaching Bible. They'll hype up how much is coming right. They'll have the people all open, oh, all of this, all of this, it's going to be fun. I grew up in so different here in North Georgia. I'm just 100 miles south of where I grew up. And honestly, we grew up knowing that when there was a storm, we prepared for it. We put extra firewood on the back porch. We get an extra 50 gallons of kerosene in the tank. We get the shovel so we can get to it. We get now, this is in the south. Because for 8 inches of snow here is a pretty severe thing. Or it might not be other places, such as up in New York, New England. But we did not get all bent out of shape. We get, as kids, we get excited about the snow. But we had hills. We had great places where we would slide down the hill on sleds or in cardboard boxes on trash can lids. And we'd be out of school. We'd get disappointed. Well, isn't that the way it is with coming to Jesus? If we know that we're saved, we don't have to get all bent out of shape about the return of Jesus. We don't have to get all worried about it because we understand the Word of God. And the Word tells us that all those things may get a little bit dicey. When Jesus comes back, he's going to pull us out of it. Before his judgment of God falls, before all of these things, the world may be looking at an apocalypse. They may be looking at and predicting world-killed thermonuclear war. They may be worried about economic collapse. But what about us as Christians? It's kind of like what I was doing yesterday. I went and made sure that some of the things that needed to be done were done. Checked things out at the church to make sure that the water was not going to freeze. Then I came back here to the house and checked on a few things here. And yes, I put plastic up over some windows that we really need to replace, but don't have the money to do it yet. And I looked around the house if there was anything that I needed to do. But one of the things I had done earlier this week, when it's turned cold, because it's been cold for several days, was I made Angel Cat come inside. Now, he was not happy about it. But when I picked him up, I think it was Tuesday night, when I went out and I found him, he was curled up underneath my storage building. He was not in his little barn that I'd built him that had warm straw in it. He was underneath the building. And when he came out, he was shivering. He was cold because the wind was blowing. And I picked him up and stuck him inside my big old Carhartt jacket. And he was shivering. And keep in mind, he can come inside anytime he wants to, but he doesn't like coming inside. And he was happy inside my jacket where it was warm, and he was getting warm, and he was yelling at me and telling me how cold it was outside. And then he saw I was heading to the door, and he did not want to come inside. But I didn't give him any choice. I brought him inside. And Angel has been sleeping on the foot of the bed or curled up next to Carol on the bed the last 2 nights and the last 2 days. And when he looks at the door, he hisses because he wants to go back outside. But he doesn't realize how dangerous it is outside. Yes, he's an outside cat. But with it down in the teens, 2 days ago, with it down in the 20s yesterday morning, it was actually 23, according to the outside thermometer here at the house. He didn't need to be outside. I knew what was best for him. And folks, I think there's a lot of parallel in that for us as Christians. The Lord knows what's best for us. And we may fight against some of the things that God wants us to do. But it's for our own good and for our own protection. And one of these days, he's going to go out and get us. And we may be shivering cold. We may be hiding because of the spiritual climate. And he may pick us up. It may feel like he's picked us up and stuck us underneath his coat. But then we see that it's the end of our life that's coming, and he's come for us. The end of our life here on earth, as we know it. And we may rebel against it. But we know that inside it's warm. Inside it's safe. And what's best for us. Bible prophecy tells us of all these things that are going to come to pass before Jesus comes. But then it tells us that Jesus is coming. And that he won't leave us here too long. He won't leave us here for the spiritual climate to get so bad. But he'll come and get us and protect us and take us home to be with him. Many today have begun to preach so many different doctrines, including one that says that things are going to get better and better and better till Jesus comes back and sets up his kingdom. And it's not going to happen that way. You have Bible prophecy preachers who are gloom and doom. But just like for me, growing up in East Tennessee where we had snow and ice and winter, we had winter weather, I kind of laugh a little bit when they say 4, 5, 6, 8 inches of snow. Folks, I carried newspapers walking as a child, not even a teenager. I carried the daily newspaper, the morning paper, and walked the newspaper route in as much as 10 inches of snow. 6 or 8 inches of snow was nothing. You just did it. We didn't have central heating and air conditioning at the house. We had an old wood stove. We had to go out and get the coal and get the wood and put in it to keep the house warm. And many nights Dad would stay up sleeping on the couch so he could stoke the fire during the night to keep the house warm enough to keep the pipes from freezing. We knew what the climate was like. And we adapted to be able to survive it. Just like as Christians, we have to adapt to be able to survive the spiritual climate that we're in. Does that mean we compromise? No. It means that we become spiritually stronger. And we learn the things that God has for us to learn. So that as he prepares to come and get us, and he knows when, we'll be ready. And my friend, I wasn't all bent out of shape over them even saying 8 to 12 inches of snow. I've camped down in 6 or 8 inches of snow. It's no big deal. Camped down in a tent under a plastic tarp. It's no big deal. You learn what it takes to survive. And Christians, you need to learn what it takes to survive the evil of this world. I remember going camping with Royal Ranger with small teenage boys and preteen boys. And we'd go and we'd set up our campsites, and they'd look at me kind of strange the way I set up my tent. But it was from years of experience. And when it rained overnight and they were laying in the pool of water and I was high and dry, they learned real fast to pay attention. When they were eating cold cereal for breakfast, and I had gravy and biscuits and sausage, they wanted to know how I did it. How do you do that? How do you cook that over a campfire? I wasn't even using a camp stove. I was using a campfire. Experience, folks. And those boys learned from my experience, and they learned some good lessons, and they learned how to do things that weren't even in the book, but were learned from me, from my experience. I was their mentor. You need to be under the teaching and the mentorship of a preacher who's not a hireling, of a preacher who has the experience of having walked with God, not some fly-by-night that's read it out of a book. And you need to stay put when you think that preacher's wrong and listen, because you may just learn a few things. And those things you learn may very well save your soul. The people that you surround yourself with will either build your faith or they will tear it down. Remember the story of the 4 friends who took the roof off the house because they couldn't get their friend who was bedfast. They couldn't get him to Jesus because of the crowd. So they climbed up on top of the house, tore the roof back, and lowered him down on ropes. Now, brother, sister, that's friends. You need friends like that who have enough faith that they know that even though they take the roof off this guy's house, he's going to understand. And the miraculous is going to happen. Why does the miraculous happen? Number one, because we believe. Number two, because we have faith that God is the God of his word, because he is the word of God. but also because we've experienced it and we know. And I cannot overemphasize this statement that I've been making for some time now, that we must walk every day. We must live our lives in expectation of the miraculous, not in expectation of the gloom and doom, but in expectation of the miraculous. And the miraculous will happen. I wasn't all bent out of shape, even over 8 to 12 inches of snow. Because I've been in it before. I worked up north in New York and Pennsylvania, in Kentucky. I would cruise out working with a foot of snow on the ground. You learn how to deal with things. And then, after you've experienced it, guess what? It's not a big deal to you. You can deal with it. You can handle it. How many of you, your faith has to go into overdrive every time the least little thing happens? You got to get, it's like you got to get out the air compressor and pump up the tires. Because the tires, your spiritual tires, are flat. Folks, when you walk in expectation of the miraculous, you will experience the miraculous. And the more you experience the miraculous, the more the spiritual climate around you doesn't bother you. It doesn't touch you at all. You just, well, so it's going to be 8 or 10 inches, 8 or 12 inches of snow. I know what we need to do. Do this, do this, do this. Be ready for it. You're not going to be able to stop it from happening. But with that experience, you can see the signs around you and know. And the biggest sign that you'll see is the one that's flashing. That says Jesus saves, Jesus heals, Jesus delivers. And no matter what happens, Jesus will always be by your side. I've camped out in the woods when it snowed. Camped out in the wintertime, in the summertime. And enjoyed it because I learned things. Let the spiritual climate teach you to build your faith, to build your endurance, and to turn you into the Christian that the Lord wants you to be. Well, as I watch the snow come down, Lafayette, Georgia is fixing to get it for about another 6 or 8 hours, and now the heavy stuff is fixing to come in. So guess what? I've got the heater on. We're going to enjoy the day. Lord bless you. Have a great day. Go with God because he has already gone before you and prepared the way. He is your rear guard, and no matter what happens, Jesus will always be right there by your side.